Chapter 10: Risk Culture, Appetite and Tolerance. Organizations should decide what risk to take and level of risk exposure that is optimal. By determining and communicating uh, its appetite for risk, an organization can ensure that risk and return is balanced in a logical and consistent way, and ensure that downside risks are controlled in a cost-effective way. Now, role of the risk appetite. Basically, it helps organization for optimum use of resources. And there are following roles it has. First one is supporting risk management decisions, risk governance and internal control activities, support strategic decision making. So first one is support risk management decisions. How? It acts as a benchmark for risk management decision and it can be used to identify the risk event that organization should reduce its exposure to because exposure to downside risks are high. Risk event that need little attention because risk is within the appetite. Risk event on which its exposure shall be increased, otherwise opportunities may be missed. Risk governance and internal control activities it is used for limit setting for total exposure to risk. Then support strategic decision making by uh, balancing the risk and return, giving a benchmark. Now, risk tolerance and capacity. Risk tolerance complements appetite and can be used mostly for downside risks to set tolerance limit for specific categories of risk or for metrics such as risk control and performance indicators. Example is tolerance limit for health and safety incidents. Minor incident may be tolerated, but major incidents such as health or serious injury may not. This limit can set for range of risk control and performance indicators like staff turnover rate, staff absence rate, customer complaints, system availability, last audit items, cash flow volatility. It can also be linked to RAG reporting. Uh, Capacity means maximum enterprise-wide level of risk which an organization may be exposed to. It is usually a function of organization's financial strength. Organization with significant reserves or low level of debt can take more risk than a company with having a high level of debt. Following factors should be considered while determining the appetite. Legal and regulatory requirements. No. These factors are considered while determining the appetite. Legal and regulatory requirements, risk preferences of key stakeholders such as shareholders, customers, and employees, specialist knowledge, skills, and experience of organizations, risk, compliance, and governance specialist, strength of an organization's balance sheet, external factors such as technological change or economic growth. Role of the board for risk appetite is usually risk appetite is usually set by board or trustees. Board should play an active role in determining an organization appetite for risk, as they are in the best place to determine risk appetite because it has broad organization wide view and exists to represent the interest of stakeholders. They are also responsible for determining the strategy and organization's objective, and these factors are influenced by risk appetite, and risk appetites are influenced by the strategy and objectives. Role of chief risk officer or and risk function in risk appetite. They should they should help to facilitate the board's role in setting risk appetite, which includes organizing a workshop or providing information to help board to make a decision, monitor its risk profile relative to its risk appetite. It can be achieved through the production of risk report. They can provide expert control advice where organization is taking too much or too little risk related to risk appetite. Culture and risk culture. Effective risk taking and risk asset management is more about policies, procedures, processes. Organizations employ its people have to implement and comply with these policies, procedures, and processes. They have to do this effectively to avoid occurrences of adverse risk events. Organization culture relates to how its employees collectively think, feel, perceive, act, and behave. It provides implicit but most powerful coordination mechanism. All the people that make up organization can influence its culture, especially people with power position and influence. Organization cultures are multi-layered, and these three layers are as follows. Visual product of culture, belief and values that are spoken about, the deeper underlying assumptions. Risk subcultures. Organizations have risk subculture that fits under overall organization risk culture. Consequence of having inappropriate risk culture can be disastrous. Significant problem arises when risk culture work against an organization. Risk management framework, associated governance, compliance arrangements. Example is Barclay Liber scandal, WBA mission, assessing, monitoring, and controlling risk cultures. It is very difficult to assess, monitor, and control risk cultures. However, common tools used for it are as follows: employee surveys, employees focus group, interviewing staff, analysis of HR information, staff turnover, exit interviews, governance, grievances, and so on. Internal audit. Specialist risk culture surveys and metrics may be used in some cases. These are developed by risk culture specialists and psychologists. Risk culture surveys. These are the specialist staff surveys designed to assess risk culture. Surveys may be built in-house or may be facilitated by external consultants. These surveys make beliefs, values, and underlying assumptions that characterize an organization's risk culture. Organization can highlight the positive element, concern for compliance, or risk awareness, along with elements deemed appropriate, unsafe working practices, but it's time consuming and no guarantee for accuracy. Metrics. Risk culture metrics might include data on policy breaches, number of overdue internal audit actions, losses and near miss caused by the inappropriate employee behavior. There is no formal list of organization can they can have their own list of metrics.